Borrowing a brand or building a network from somewhere, presumably in northeast Nigeria, Boko Haram this weekend pledging allegiance to ISIS, the radical sect's loyalty oath, in competition with another big announcement. Chad and Niger claiming a new cross-border offensive against Boko Haram. How are these two announcements linked? How's the military campaign going so far? What's the view of the local population? And with Islamist radicals shooting up a restaurant in Mali's capital, killing 5, how much can you connect the dots between Boko Haram and insurgents in Mali, originally rooted in Algeria, chased out of the north by French-led forces, but whose strategy seems to be to keep drawing in the West? Today in the France 24 debate, we're talking about jihadists without borders. And with us from Calabar in Nigeria, journalist Philip Obaji, founder of the One Game campaign. Thank you for being with us. Tell us what One Game is.
Well, basically what One Game does is to promote basic education, particularly in northeastern Nigeria. You know, in Nigeria, we have about 10.5 million children who are not in school. So about 9.5 million of those children reside in the northern part of the country. And over 2.8 million of those children also reside in the northeastern part where Boko Haram has a major stronghold. So what we do in One Game is to ensure that every child who is of school age have access to free and qualitative basic education.
All right, and of course, the fight for education is key to this discussion. We're also joined, she's a journalist from Niger, Hanan Ferjani. Welcome back to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Welcome back as well to former UN General Dominique Trinquant.
Good evening.
And Jose Luengo Cabrera of the European Institute, for Security Studies.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being with us. The France 24 debate, where you can join the conversation on Facebook and Twitter, our hashtag F24debate. Since Sunday, the fighting has been fierce. Troops from Chad and Niger claiming to have retaken Malam Fatouri and Damasak. These are two towns held by Boko Haram in northeastern Nigeria since the month of November. Dozens of insurgents and at least 10 Chadian soldiers killed. This attack, for the first time, bringing in troops from Niger into the fight. The fighting, which began on Sunday and now is continuing, according to those latest reports. Let me start with you, Hanan Ferjani. We've heard in the past bold claims from Nigeria about how they'd retaken towns that hadn't been retaken. In this particular case, though, we know from hospitals that the fighting has been fierce.
Yes, the fighting has been fierce, and from the security sources that I've been talking to, it is in fact the case that that Niger and Chadian forces have been able to retake towns across the border, and that's the first time that it actually entered Nigeria and fought in the Nigerian turf, and they've been able to retake Damasak and Madame Fatouri in fact, and apparently killed 200 Boko Haram militants in the process. I think it's an important. It's going to be a turning point in the fight against Boko Haram, from what I hear, at least from sources on the ground, because Niger and Chadian forces have showed basically in this fight that they were able to go across the border and to actually defeat some militants in their own turf, basically, which is not something that Nigeria has been able to do recently.
Which is not something that Nigeria, of course, Chadian forces had crossed over with Cameroonian forces, this a bit further to the southeast.
Not with Cameroonian force, because the Cameroonian force have no authorization from the Nigerian government to cross the border. Only Niger and Chad has the authorization, which is a part of a problem, because due to this attack today, it was shown that Boko Haram is on a very bad slope. And it's the first time that they were defeated like that after a month with the Nigerian army doing nothing. But on the other side, on the western border, on the Cameroon border, the Cameroon forces are only on defensive. President Biya and the Minister of Defense has reorganized the whole north of Cameroon in order to defend Cameroon, but they have no authorization to cross the border. And that's why the Chadian forces cross the border between Chad and Cameroon to be ready to cross the border with Nigeria in place of the Cameroon force who are not allowed to do that.
And how do you explain that the Chadians have the right to, but not the Cameroonians?
An old story between Cameroon and Nigeria. You remember Bakassi, the border, the dispute about the border between Nigeria and Cameroon. It was solved, I can't remember, 10 years ago by judgment. And all this part of the border was given to Cameroon. And since this dispute, there was always discussion between Nigeria and Cameroon.
You're not far from the Bakassi Peninsula, Philip Obaji. Your thoughts on that troops from Niger and Chad can cross over, but not from Cameroon?
Well, Nigeria's president, Goodluck Jonathan, somehow has been able to create, a kind of relationship with the presidents of Niger and Chad. If you can remember, about 3 months ago, President Jonathan paid 2 visits to N'Djamena, the Chadian capital. So details of what both presidents discussed, I was talking about President Idris Deby of Chad and Jonathan of Nigeria, what they discussed was not made public to journalists. But we have seen a series of meetings between President Jonathan and the presidents of Niger and Chad. We haven't had too much of a cordial relationship between Jonathan and Paul Biya of Cameroon. I don't want to be in a hurry to conclude that it is because of the differences about Bakassi. Remember that some time ago, 2 years ago to be precise, Nigeria refused to seek review of the judgment, the ICJ judgment that handed Cameroon, or that handed Bakassi to Cameroon. But we haven't seen too much of business between Nigeria and Cameroon at the government level.
And should they be letting bygones be bygones? After all, this is about taking on Boko Haram now.
It is a case of ideology, if you ask me. The Cameroonian president have criticized the government of Nigeria's role in the whole insurgency. They say that Nigeria isn't too serious in battling Boko Haram. So that explains why both presidents have not been on good terms. But Jonathan has made it a point of duty to speak regularly with his counterparts from Chad and Niger. So that has made it easy for the Nigerian government to grant access to these 2 countries to get into Nigeria's territory. But Cameroon has said that they are really involved. Yeah, they have a lot of role to play, even though its military and that of Niger will only focus on defending the borders so as not to allow Boko Haram militants escape into these 2 countries, while Chad and Nigeria will have soldiers on the field, on the battleground, fighting against Boko Haram. But Niger and Cameroon will remain on the borders. Boko Haram have usually fled into Cameroon, and they have used Cameroon as route for arms and other personnel.
Let me bring in Jose Luengo Cabrera here. The timeline seems a little bit slow for us who are watching from the outside. Remember, there was that back in the spring, all that outrage over the girls from Chibok who'd been abducted by Boko Haram. There was a summit in Paris to discuss it. We thought things would go fast at that point.
I would agree. I mean, I would say that international mobilization has been rather sluggish, if we can use that term. The idea is that the deployment of international forces per se will not really take place. It's more about the regional actors, and it's the first time that you have a regional security alliance backed by the African Union to deploy forces into Nigeria for the first time. We also have to be reminded by the fact that Nigeria was very reticent to accept troops in its territory. And up until Abubakar Shekau's announcement last Saturday of its alliance with ISIS, Nigeria was not calling for international help. In fact, it was the first time that Nigeria said, we want to receive international help, and they welcome the intervention of AU troops.
All right, you mentioned the fact that they're bringing up this, there is in the pipeline a multinational force. That has not been set up yet. These troops from Chad and Niger are not yet part of that African Union-led force. Nonetheless, as Luke Schrager reports, it's a start.
3 weeks after it was attacked by Boko Haram, the village of Ngubua is still a mostly burned-out wreck. It was the first time the Islamist militants had attacked beyond Nigeria's borders.
Now when Boko Haram attacks a village, it is to chase the population away and steal the food.
The group's been hard-pressed in recent weeks as military forces from Chad, Cameroon and Niger step up operations against them in Nigerian territory. 6 years into an insurgency that's left 13,000 dead, many locals have run out of patience.
There will be peace in this country, and Boko Haram will be a thing of the past. We've had things like that before. We believe this time around we are going to win the war against them. Whether they are affiliated to ISIS or not, they'll be eliminated.
For most, the group's pledge of allegiance to the Islamic State organization was the last straw.
Now that they have declared their support for international terrorists, I think that it is time for the government of Nigeria now to mump up much of power, either from other neighboring countries, to be able to fight strongly the insurgents, the Boko Haram people, so that the war might be totally against them.
That's looking more and more likely. The existing multinational force the African Union endorsed in January is now set to be reinforced with 10,000 extra troops.
You're shaking your head, Dominique Trinquant.
No,
the 10,000, we're not there yet.
It is planned that there will be 10,000 troops. Currently, just following what was said, we must be amazed by the fact that the country, Niger, Chad, Cameroon, on the ground are already fighting. I mean, they are there. It's not the future of the force. The force is there. What is the future is the fact that the plan for this force is now in New York, and there is a plan to have a UN Security Council resolution endorsing this force. That's the plan. But the force is currently fighting. And the problem is, as usual, the country in the area, it was the case in Côte d'Ivoire, it was the case in Liberia, it was the case in Sierra Leone, are ready to be there very quickly and to fight. The problem is that they've got no logistic and no finance. And so this is in New York in order to have finance. This is the problem, but the troops are there.
Hang on, you mentioned New York, but
Yeah.
those 3 neighboring states are all former French colonies. Is France already doing its bit in that regard?
Of course, France is currently the president of the Security Council. So France
But it also has bilateral defense agreements with all of those states.
Yeah, but France can't do everything. You know, the headquarters of the multinational force is already in N'Djamena. And in N'Djamena is close to the French headquarters, where the French forces are providing intelligence and are ready to fly aircraft for the benefit of the force. But the role of France is more now to help this country in the UN Security Council and to provide intelligence and support. But this country are doing their job. I mean, I'm amazed by the fact that what they are doing is what Nigeria has not done for months.
All right, Nigeria getting a bit of a beating among the viewers, too. Aziz writing on Twitter, Nigeria refuses to let Cameroon forces to pursue Boko Haram on its land because of political conflicts. Where is the moral in this tale is basically what Aziz is saying. Hanan Farjani, your thoughts on also this offensive and the uneasy way in which it's happening?
I think I completely agree with what Aziz has just said here. I think at this point, with this insurgency that's been spreading and growing for the past 6 years, a lot of people have been looking at Nigerian government and saying, why wait so long? Why not have stepped up before? Why not have called for help earlier? And the fact that Niger and Chad have stepped up, and especially Chad, has not helped with the credibility of the government, of the Nigerian government, definitely not. And I think at this point we're all also wondering if these feuds between with Cameroon are relevant because it's a transnational issue and it's a growing issue and it's a threat to the entire Sahel region at this point. And I think what is most important is that Nigeria just put all of its grievances aside and just work in cooperation with these countries.
General Tankal, just briefly, if we could talk military strategy here. If you've got these columns of 2,000 men who are coming in from the north, from the Niger border, but the Cameroonians who are on the east can't go in, what does Boko Haram do?
Yes, the plan is probably that the Chadian will come with a Niger force from the north, and the Chadian alone will come from the south, because Cameroon is not authorized. So what we are saying is that Cameroon will serve as a base for the attack of the Chadian. They are cooperating together. Remember that why Chad was initially involved in that is because the road from Douala, Cameroon, to Chad is the logistic tail for the Chadian
nation,
and also for the French forces. And don't forget that close to that you've got Central Africa, where there is a large UN operation. So everything is interlinked, and the only absent in this arena are the Nigerian.
Which brings us again back to the point, Jose Luengo Cabrera, this profession of faith on the part of Boko Haram to ISIS. Why now? Is it because they're on the ropes, or is it because they're strong?
I think it's hard to say. You can never really unveil the motivations of an armed group if you can't interview them directly. But what we can say is, one, yes, they can be against the ropes and they might be crying for help. Indeed, this is in the wake of other groups pledging allegiance to ISIS, notably in Libya and Egypt. Potentially they're a source of financing and possibly assisting Boko Haram with strategy, because their attacks tend to be rather spurious and random. But more so than that, it's also on the dimension of recruitment. If you are now pledging allegiance to ISIS, you have more reach beyond Nigeria, because the cause is no longer restricted to Nigeria, but to the wider Muslim world, let's say. And there's been signs of recruitment in Cameroon and Chad, notably of unemployed men who are looking just for alternative sources of income. So in that way, let's say it's a public relations move in a way, because they're pledging alliance to someone who is a bigger player in this game.
All right, this idea of recruitment and how it plays with the local population, we'll pick up with it when we come back. Just a comment on Facebook from Prisco: if they pledge their loyalty to ISIS, it means they're having some kind of weakness. This is the time for the Nigerian government to capitalize on this weakness. More of your reactions when we come back. You're watching the France 24 debate.